Nearly 500,000 Americans are in kidney failure, and many will need dialysis. It's a major commitment that can come with a loss of independence. Patients spend hours each week in a dialysis center, but Roger Cash of Flowery Branch thinks he may have found a better option. The Fox Medical Team's Beth Galvin has his story.
Roger Cash was diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease 20 years ago, and by 2014, the 62-year-old's kidneys were failing and he needed dialysis. But finding the right fit hasn't been easy, and to do it, he had to get over a big fear of needles. After 42 years of marriage, Roger and Raynell Cash aren't just husband and wife. They are now care partners, working together as a team to give Roger the kidney dialysis that is keeping the 62-year-old alive.
I was in pretty rough shape before I went on dialysis. So even in the first dialysis session I had in center, I started feeling better.
Back then, Cash had to go to a Fresenius Kidney Care dialysis center 3 days a week, about 7 in the morning, spending up to 4 hours hooked to a machine, filtering the toxins from his blood.
You feel pretty drained the days you have dialysis. In-center dialysis is a lot more variation. You know, feel good, feel real bad. Feel good, feel real bad.
After his sessions, Cash would go to his job as a maintenance technician at a manufacturing plant.
The longer I stayed on the in-center daytime dialysis, the worse I felt.
So Cash switched to an overnight or nocturnal dialysis center, thinking that he could sleep through the 8-hour sessions. But there was a problem.
So I was not sleeping in center, and I kept trying to work while I was doing this.
With Cash now on medical leave and growing depressed, Fresenius came up with another option for him. The company would train Roger and Raynell to do his dialysis at home using a machine called a dialyzer. And at first, his nephrologist at the time, Dr. Dinesh Chadha, says Cash was reluctant.
His concerns was, one, the machine looked pretty complicated, and number two, how am I going to use these needles and stick myself in order to go on dialysis?
In all honesty, I got desperate because I wanted to keep working.
The Cashes went through 2.5 months of training together to learn how to set up, clean, and sterilize the machine and stick Roger with the needle.
Well, it turned out to be quite a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Sticking needles in oneself is not an easy task, and there's phobia around that. But once we can break through those barriers, once they experience better health, they tend to do and thrive well on dialysis at home.
Roger set up his own schedule 4 nights a week, 3 hours at a time.
Just about 2.5 months into it, I just woke up one day and said, you know, I feel a lot better. And I felt better days and days in a row.
Roger Cash has had a few bumps in the road, including colon cancer, but he says today he feels good and he's back at work.
I'm not as fast as I used to be. I'm not as strong as I used to be. Don't have the stamina I used to have, but I can still get the job done. And that meant a lot to me.
And Cash and his wife can now travel and take their dialysis equipment with them. About 12% of Fresenius dialysis patients do home dialysis, but most do it through a catheter in their belly while they sleep. Only about 2% are doing hemodialysis like Cash. For the Fox Medical Team, I'm Beth Galvin.